Today, the video will be on Mesopotamian civilization. This video will be speaking about the etymology of Mesopotamia and geographical background, the dynasties that ruled Mesopotamia, and the important ruler of Mesopotamia will be discussed. First of all, we will discuss chapter 3.3, that is Mesopotamian Civilization. The first question that also for the exam is, what is the meaning of the term Mesopotamia? Or what is the term means Mesopotamia? Mesopotamia is derived from a Greek word which means land between two rivers. Land between two rivers. So the two rivers are, here is Mesopotamia on your right. Euphrates and Tigris formed the fertile plain for the development of Mesopotamian civilization. You can see some of the places on your right in the Mesopotamian civilization, that is two lines that are flowing from right and left, that is Tigris and Euphrates. On your left it is Euphrates, on your right it is Tigris. The land between this is called Mesopotamia. And the Mesopotamian civilization was ruled by five dynasties that ruled Mesopotamia for nearly 3,000 years. Before seeing this Mesopotamia and the present condition of this area is, Mesopotamian civilization includes the present area of Syria, southern Turkey, and most of the Iraq. It is also known as the land of Sinar. It was a center of culture whose influence extended up to Egypt as well as to India. So, if you go to the south, you will see African continent where the Egyptian civilization was developed. If you move towards east, it is Indus Valley civilization. So this is in between that. So presently it includes the eastern part of Syria, southern part of Turkey, as well as the most part of Iraq and some part of Iran too. And the important dynasties that ruled Mesopotamian civilization are Sumerians. You can see Sumar, they come from Sumar. They were the pioneers of Mesopotamian civilization. The Sumerians are the first to settle down, and they are called this first settlement as Sumar. Sumerians comes from Sumar and started the Mesopotamian civilization. And from then, the Akkadians settled down in the northwestern part of Sinar. You can see Sinar on the northwest part of the Mesopotamian civilization. So they called this civilization as Mesopotamian civilization, and they are Akkadians. Akkadians started Mesopotamian civilization after Sumerians. They comes from northwestern part of the Mesopotamian civilization, or the area called Sinar. Akkadians were nomadic tribes. They conquered Sumar and continued many aspects of Sumerian culture. And the important king was Sargon I. And he strengthened the empire of Agade was their capital. Agade was their capital. After that, it was The third dynasty that ruled is Amorites, or called as Old Babylonians. You can see the Babylon in the map, Babylon. They established their empire by destroying Akkadians. So there was a period of chaos for 250 years. Chaos means a rule of uncertainty. Their capital was Babylon. The important ruler of this dynasty is Hammurabi. We will discuss about him little later. The Emperor Hammurabi was the greatest king and the lawmaker of Mesopotamian civilization. After that, it was Assyrians are the fourth dynasty that ruled Mesopotamia. The Assyrians revived the glory of Mesopotamia during the Emperor Tilgath-Pileser. These are the rulers, Tilgath-Pileser. The Mesopotamia came back to once again to the biggest strength. They built huge empire. The important kings were Sargon, Assur-Banipal, and the capital of their kingdom is Nineveh. You can see on the northwestern part of Mesopotamia, Nineveh, their capital is. And finally, this is Chaldeans succeeded as the fifth dynasty, the Mesopotamia. The Chaldeans were New Babylonians. After the death of Assur-Banipal, Chaldeans became powerful. They destroyed the city of Nineveh and rebuilt the city of Babylon as their capital. Once again, Babylon becomes the capital. And they called as New Babylonians. Chaldeans are also called as New Babylonians because they rebuilt the city called Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest king who built huge brick fort around Babylon and a hanging garden, which we will see as one of the ancient wonders of the world while we discuss the architecture. Persian emperor finally Cyrus conquered Babylon in 538 CE, thus the empire came to an end. So finally, the Cyrus was a person who came and conquered Babylon from Persia. A Persian king named Cyrus conquered Babylon in 538 BC. Thus the empire or civilization came to an end. The next question that comes to us is, Mesopotamia is the graveyard or the cradle of many civilizations. It is also cradle as well as graveyard. It's a 2-mark question. So the first to answer this question in this way is very simple, because already I have said there was a 5 civilization that developed in Mesopotamia. From 3000 BCE to 500 BCE, there is 5 dynasties or 5 new civilizations that took birth and died off. Cradle means birthplace, graveyard means it's a death place. The fertile plains of 2 rivers, Euphrates and Tigris, people settled in villages. They grew into population. These villages developed into towns and later into cities. These plains were the cradles of many civilizations which developed as well as finally vanished around or between 3500 to 500 BCE. Hence, Mesopotamia is called the birthplace as well as the death place of many civilizations. So the 2 fertile plain gave a fortified place for development of a human civilization, human dwelling, cultivation, animal husbandry, dairy development, and other economic activities were concentrated. So many civilizations came. We have already seen 5 of them have come and disappeared. So this is how this civilization developed, and they appeared in between 3500 to 500 BC. Hence Mesopotamia is called the cradle as well as graveyard of a civilization. Now we will go to an important king called Hammurabi. So Hammurabi was the greatest ruler of Mesopotamian civilization. He was a great conqueror and able administrator. He has become immortal in the history of mankind by his code of law. And he collected existing laws, classified them and improved them, and added new ones, codified them into a body of laws. This code of law includes 282 laws, and this is the man who called Hammurabi. The significance of the code lies in the fact that it covers all the aspects of human life. Not even one is left. This is the code of Hammurabi. You can see the close look at it on the right. On the stone on which he has engraved is on your left. The person is on your back, on your right, and the code is written like this. You can see very, very small handwriting. And you are seeing this, the god of Mesopotamia, the supreme god, is handing over this law to Hammurabi. You can see on the top of the black stone, the king Hammurabi is receiving law from god Shamash. Shamash is the supreme god of Mesopotamia. So before seeing Hammurabi, we will take some of the political background, and afterwards we will see the code of Hammurabi in detail. Early Mesopotamians established the city-states first, which developed into kingdoms and later into an empire. King was the head of both administration as well as religion. King is the head. Kings were regarded as the representative of God on earth. So God is present in the form of king on earth. He was the head of the state and owned the property of the state. So everything within the state belongs to the king, is the statement. So he ruled the state in the name of God. Many a times the king's authority fell into the hands of military officials. Only powerful kings exercised immense power. Priests had a great voice in the administration. Governors were appointed to look after the provincial administration. They had horse-borne postal system for communication. So horse was used for communication. Now, we will see about Hammurabi and afterwards a little detailed about Hammurabi's code, which is on your left. Hammurabi was a Babylonian king. Hammurabi was a Babylonian king, means he ruled from Babylon. He belongs to the dynasty of Amorites. Amorites or Old Babylonians. King or the supreme king was, or supreme emperor was, Hammurabi. He remained immortal in the history of Mesopotamia by giving this code. He conquered Sumer or Mesopotamia and ruled between 2123 BCE to 2081 BCE, 2123 BCE to 2081 BCE. He was the one of the greatest ruler of Mesopotamian civilization. He was a great conqueror and able administrator. He conquered the whole of Mesopotamia. He was an enlightened monarch or despot or the ruler, I can call it as. He united the entire Mesopotamian region, which is Sumer, Akkad, and divided the entire kingdom into small provinces, and these provinces further divided into districts. He personally supervised the administration. He built many palaces, temples, built a big wall around the kingdom, that is fortified the city called Babylon. Central and provincial administration was carried out smoothly, therefore he is called great administrator, according to the orders of emperor. So according to him, every rule has to be implemented and every rule has to be carried out. For that only he was called as a great conqueror or able administrator. He has become immortal in the history of mankind, not because of his administration or not because of conquering the entire Sumerian or Mesopotamian civilization. For what he has remained immortal in the humankind or mankind is because by giving the code of law. Code of law. This code has become now basis for all the world's lawmaking. He collected all the existing laws of then time and classified them or codified them, improved some of the laws that have been there and added new ones, and finally he classified, that is codified them into one body of laws. So finally he made a code of 282 laws. These laws will be related to all aspects of life, whether personal life, property or trade, business, accident, labor, marriage, divorce, slaves, rights of men, women, animals, everything. He spoke regarding everything in this code of law and how they should be. So it is beautifully engraved on the black stone. It is one of the oldest written law. It is the oldest, remember, it is the oldest written law or the code known to the history to the mankind. On the top of it, you can see on your right, top of it, the king Hammurabi image is carved, is shown receiving the laws from God Shamash or the sun god. The code is a mixture of enlightened laws as well as barbaric punishments. So this enlightened laws or barbaric punishments, why I call it, is many of the laws were based on the principles of tit for tat, eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So, but these laws are universally applicable throughout his kingdom. And even today, these laws are applicable. If one person beats on your right, you beat him back on the right. So, give the amount what you have received is the law that the implementation was. But nobody can avenge. Only state can avenge. It was based on the principle of complete responsibility of the state to give justice. No individual can go take an eye of another person because your eye has been lost or you have been punished, you need not punish. Only the government will take the responsibility in providing you justice. That is why individual could not avenge, but only state could avenge the way it liked. Not the way you liked, only the state can do or avenge or take or give justice the way it likes. The code aimed at deterring the people from committing crimes. Why such hard rules and regulations have been made is because they aimed at deterring. Deterring means reducing the crimes, because people will not listen until the laws are strict. If the laws are not strict, if they are not found, the police cannot do anything, or the laws cannot be. So laws can be strictly enforced, the crimes can be controlled. When the laws are strictly enforced, the crimes can be controlled. Otherwise, police or the lawmakers are dummy candidates. Most often it will be like in India. Simply you will be caught, or the real punished or really criminals are walking around sometimes. There are provisions regarding almost all professions in the society. The code is aimed at providing equality to women, or equality of status to women. How? The women were given the right to own the property or inherit the ancestral property. So the women also can get the property from their parents. The punishments were harsh, and harsh for the people, very hard, who were well placed and prosperous people. Punishments are still more harder. The richer the person, the punishments are very strict, very harsh. A higher the post a person, the small crime also will have a big punishment. Efforts were made to avoid discrimination between the rich and the poor. The code of business documents were also made. If a doctor fails in his duty, he had to pay a compensation to the patients. That is the way the laws have been made. If a doctor fails to treat a patient, the complete compensation he has to pay to the patients. That is, the king will see, or the state will see. The code of Hammurabi influenced other kings elsewhere in the world to pass similar laws, because this became the basis for all of them. The significance of the code lies in the fact that it covered all aspects of human life. It was an everlasting, because it is continued even today as a basis for every constitution in this world, as well as it is monumental. It is a legal achievement of man in the form of Hammurabi. Therefore, Hammurabi became immortal in the life of everybody. So, by making this code, the Hammurabi became an immortal in the life of the people. Social life of Mesopotamians will be in the next video.